Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome back to Make Our World Your Runway. You know, this is the show that interviews the most fascinating individuals from the world of modeling, pageantry, business, beauty, and even the entertainment industry. And today, we are going to do something very, very different. You're going to love this story. I guarantee you're going to walk away and say, oh my God, this was probably one of the best interviews and shows that we have done in a while. But of course, before we bring our amazing guest on, we always like to do a few announcements for all our viewers. And we want to tell you to subscribe to the Global Trade Chamber YouTube channel so that you can see all the shows from Make Our World Your Runway and Success Stories. And of course, we always tell you to tune into Success Stories because you're going to hear stories from the most fascinating women that have worked in business and community service. They're great entrepreneurs, and they've worked themselves up to being highly recognized in the world of the industry today. So once again, make sure you subscribe to the Global Trade Chamber YouTube channel so that you can see all the stories from Make Our World Your Runway and, of course, Success Stories. And we also do want to thank our sponsors who make this show very possible every week, and that's Lasky Architect, Lux Salon, Margaritaville at Sea, 100 Successful Women in Business, the Transmedia Group, the Global Trade Chamber, the Bangladesh American Chamber of Commerce, Vida Designs, and SP Fashion Direct. Once again, sponsors, thank you so much, okay, for sponsoring this fabulous show so that everyone can get a chance to see all our amazing guests that come on here every week. And of course, we also want to remind our viewers to get ready for some exciting conferences, speakers, and awards as 100 Successful Women in Business and the Global Trade Chamber come to a city near you. And one of the next cities that we are going to be coming to you is going to be on April 4th, which is going to be in Miami. Okay, it's going to be at the DoubleTree Hotel. Okay, and these shows are absolutely amazing because it brings not only women from the United States, but from around the world that get together to showcase their business. And of course, at these shows, there's always networking, conferences, business expo, fashion show, and of course, Make Our World Your Runway always goes live to all of these shows. Now, these are free events. But if you do want to be a speaker and you want to be an exhibitor, you do have time to sign up. And I'm going to tell you to sign up now because all these shows are an absolute sellout. So go to the website at www.100swb.com for all the information. Remember, that's going to be April 4th. It's an international show, going to be women from around the world and the United States taking part in this fabulous event. Once again, it is a free event. But if you do want to be an exhibitor or you do want to speak at this event, you must sign up now. So again, that website is www.100swb.com. Go there for all the information. Make sure you sign up now. You won't be sorry. It's an amazing event. And like I said, yours truly will be there. Make Our World Your Runway, and we will be going live. So once again, thank you for tuning in. And now we're going to get on to our show. As we always like to say, lights, camera, action. It's Make Our World Your Runway. And today I have an amazing guest, okay? He was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York. And at an early age of 17, he got himself involved with organized crime on the streets of New York. Now, as many of you know, that I always do most of my shows, a lot of it is about beauty and about the industry that I'm in. But today we're going to take a little bit of a different turn because when you listen to this amazing guest, you will just totally love him. The first time I heard him speak on a red carpet at an event, I was totally mesmerized. So ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I'd like to bring on a very good friend and a great individual, Tommy Harding. Tommy, welcome to Make Our World Your Runway.
Hello.
Hello there, Mr. Tommy. How are you, my dear?
I'm doing fine, Angela. How about yourself?
I'm doing good, except it's a little cold out here in Florida today.
Well, it's kind of chilly down here. It was like 22 degrees last night in North Carolina.
That's what I heard. It was like 22 degrees. My cousin was telling me up in New Jersey, she was like 10 degrees. And for South Florida, it's unusual because when I got up this morning, it was 39 degrees.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, unbelievable. I was like 39 degrees. And I found out this morning that up in the Panhandle, they had snow.
We had snow a couple of days ago, too, but it was just like about an inch, and then the next day it was just like all gone. But it's just been cold. This is like I haven't seen it this cold in quite a few years. But I don't know. World's changing. What can I tell you?
Yeah, exactly. The world is changing. And you know, it's so funny. We had a couple of cold snaps last year. Now, normally in Florida, and the month of like say December, January, February, you'll get a few cold days and all of a sudden it'll go back up to 83 degrees. But this is the coldest I've seen it. I mean, we've been,
Wow.
now next week we're supposed to get warm again, but I've seen consecutive days now we're hitting like, 39 at night, and the
Yeah.
highest we're going to get to is like 56 or 60 degrees, okay, during the day. So now all of a sudden next week, I see one day it's going up to 77.
It's going to be warm here next week too. So we're kind of sharing that little Antarctic cold and the warmness. So there you go.
But anyway, my dear, as I just explained to my viewers, of course, with the industry I'm in, and I always do something, in the realm of beauty or entertainment. But you're a little different, and I wanted to get you on the show because you have such a great story. And the first time I met you, I think it was on the red carpet for the movie studio.
Yeah.
And I was just mesmerized on how, from where you were, bounty hunter, and then to where you are today. And that book that you wrote, Hardening, is absolutely amazing. So tell our viewers like where you started, where you came from, and why you made this change.
Just basically, I was born and raised in Borough Park, Brooklyn, which is a Hasidic Jewish neighborhood. My father, we were the only black family there because my dad, he was the so-called superintendent of the building. So the landlord let us live there for free in a basement apartment. And he had 4 boys and 2 girls that were living at the home, all of us at the same time. So he used us to help him do a lot of work at the building. But the bad side of that is that my dad was a very violent alcoholic, and he took it out on my mom. And my mom is mixed. My mom is mixed with Scottish, Italian, Irish, Polish. She's just mixed completely. And it made it very different growing up when people looking at me and seeing how my mother was, seeing how my father was, and seeing some of us lighter than the other ones and that kind of nature. And the stuff that was going on at home made me hit the streets with my father's alcoholism and the violence that he was putting upon my mother. And I got into street gangs at an early age. Street gangs, small stuff, stealing cars, burglaries, stuff like that. Working for stealing cars in chop shops, working with chop shops with the parts and stuff back in the 70s as a kid. And then as I got older, what happened was, I kind of graduated a little bit, and I graduated and I met some really, really bad people that got me involved with some organized crime. It started at the social club in Brooklyn. It was called the End Result, and a lot of Italians and Irish hung out there. And we would be their go-to teenagers. We went to the store, get them sandwiches. We actually could buy them liquor. The liquor store would give us liquor to bring to the social club.
Right.
And they had control of all of that, and they took a liking to me. This guy named Irish Jimmy took a liking to me. And when I was about 17 years old, I started working for him in Manhattan. He had a club in Manhattan. I started working for him there, and I was always big for my age. I was never a small guy. And, never a small guy. I was the guy that was in class. They used to put us by size order in class to line up. They say line up in size order, and I was always last. Because I was the tallest. But I started working for Jimmy as a collector. I was collecting money off of bets.
Right.
I was collecting money off of one-armed bandits. These are these machines that you play, and a lot of these places, these galleries, we call them galleries, that were known, mob hangouts and stuff like that.
Exactly.
And then I got to know a lot of those people, and they, for some strange reason, they took a real liking to me, and they knew about my mother, they knew about my father. And they welcomed me with open arms. But you got to understand something. At that time, I was trying to find someone, to look up to, and I just looked up to the wrong people, and that led me down a really bad road. I mean, working in collections and in all the 5 boroughs. You know, I'm the guy that, you know, knocks on your door at 4 o'clock in the morning. You know, you got to collect,
Right.
you got to pay. You know, you lost, you got to pay. If you don't pay, you got to, you know, if you don't pay, you got to pay.
Right, exactly. And it's so funny. I know exactly what you're talking about. And when you were telling me this story, you know what I was thinking about? The movie Goodfellas. It's what I said, oh my God, I said, this is Goodfellas. You know, and every time they play it, I always think about the old Irish Italian neighborhoods, even where I came from. And, you know, it's funny that you should say that because when I was in high school, that's when my dad took very, very sick. Okay. He took very ill. And, you know, my mother's brother, he knew the streets. Okay. A lot of people don't know this, but he had to move out in the middle of the night and from Jersey moved to Florida because of the gambling debts. Okay.
Right.
So he knew the streets and he figured, you know, without a father figure, okay, I could go out there and, you know, get involved. And, you know, I had a lot of my family that was involved in organized crime and things like that. But, you know, of course, the Italian families, if you're coming from parts of New York and even parts of Jersey, that was the thing, you know?
Yeah.
And my uncle made sure that, you know, he said to me, look, he says, you know, he said, I know you're pretty smart. He says, but, you know, he said, I don't want you to fall in, he says, to almost the same kind of category, he says, that I did. So I was lucky enough that I had a few uncles that kind of pulled the reins until my father got well again. But
Right.
even my father, he knew the streets as well, too. And especially being a Navy man, oh, God, he knew everything that was going on. But, you know, hey, I mean, I understand exactly what you're saying because you were trying to find someone to look up to. All right. And, you know, even when I was coming up the ranks in the entertainment industry and I knew everybody that played the Copacabana, it was almost the same scenario because you were trying to make it and you wanted to look up to someone, but you weren't sure if the people you were looking up to, if it was right or wrong, you
You
know,
wanted to belong. You wanted to belong to something.
there you go.
And
Exactly.
sometimes that just leads to bad choices. Now you got to understand something. Not everybody likes you in this world. And when I got involved with that, there were people in there that were like saying to me, what is this nigga doing here? What's going on with this? What's going on with this? And that's when Jimmy would stand up for me and says, listen, Tommy's an earner. I don't care what color he is. He's making green for us. You know, the guys that started off disliking me at the beginning, through the years, they wound up loving me because of what I was doing. I was committing crime. Listen, first of all, I want to say I was committing crimes. I was committing a lot of crimes. Okay.
Right.
And it's nothing to be proud of. I'm not proud of that stuff, but that's the reality. That's the life that I lived at that time. Okay.
Right.
But being in that life is not going to be good for you. I'm going to tell you why, because mostly all the people that I was involved with years ago were deceased and were murdered. Jimmy was murdered after I was arrested in 1993. Jimmy was murdered. They found him in the back of in the trunk of his car after I was released. So long story, I'm not going to get into detail about that, right? But the police and the U.S. Marshals and the FBI came down and arrested me because I had fled New York City and I went to North Carolina, and they traced me, they followed me, and they arrested me, and they bring me back to Rikers Island, okay? And they were just trying to get information on unsolved cases, unsolved homicides, unsolved lots of things. They were threatening me with RICO. They were threatening me with I was a young kid. I didn't understand a lot of this. I didn't understand a lot what was going on. And at one time when I was in New York City, being in this lifestyle, you know, I was shot. You know, I was shot in the back. Someone recognized me from doing collections, and I don't remember what I did to them, but they tried to kill me in Brooklyn on Avenue C and McDonald Avenue. I was shot right in the back. You know, and another time when I was doing a collection in Sunset Park at a club, it got to a point where I thought who I was too, being young, like I was untouchable. But that's not true, okay? Because when I went to pick up at this club, money at this club, I was set up, and I was also stabbed in the chest, which wound up. I had to have open heart surgery after I was stabbed in the chest.
Wow.
That lifestyle, the bottom line to that lifestyle, nothing good comes out of it. But on the other hand, very rarely in cases you're able to turn your life around. And that's when I wrote this book,
I love
Hardening.
it.
I wrote this book, Hardening, about my life. And when I finally got released from prison in I think it was 1998, 1999, I still left New York City. I didn't want to be around New York City because I had a lot of enemies. So I came back to North Carolina because that's where my mom lived. And I'm a
Right.
mama's boy. I went to stay with my mom. You know, my dad had passed
Absolutely.
away when I was 20 years old, you know.
Right.
When I came back here, I had to find something else to do. The only thing that Tommy Harding knew was security wise, bouncing clubs, being a bodyguard, collecting all those. That's the only thing that I knew from being a teenager until in my 30s. So what I was approached when I was working at a nightclub, when I was approached by a guy named Troy Thompson, and he was a bail enforcement agent, and he'd been coming there for a while, and he took a liking to me. He seen the way that I handled myself. I don't beat up people. I wasn't the guy that beat up drunks at the club. I was the guy that called the cab for the drunk, walked him to the car, and I paid for it to get him home safe because I remember how my father used to be.
Right.
I was never wanting to hurt individuals. All the individuals in my life, in that circle that I was in, that were hurt were people that were involved in illegal activities. Not to say
Yeah.
that I'm proud that, oh, wow, I beat up a criminal. No, it's still a human being, all the stuff
Yes.
that I was involved in. You follow what I'm saying? So
Yes.
I had an opportunity to make a change in my life. I was a convicted felon after serving 4 years in rank. I don't even get into the prison stuff, but that's a whole nother story we'll have to talk about. But I served 4 years, got out, left, went to North Carolina, worked at a club, was approached by Troy Thompson, a bail bondsman. He asked me would I want to go on with him in some pickups. I was like, oh man, that's a life changer. I'm going to be chasing bad guys now without everyone chasing me all the time. You got to be kidding me. And as it worked out, I worked a few cases with him, and the money was astronomical. I was like, oh my gosh, this is a lot of money here. And then as
Right.
time went on, I started educating myself about this business. Once I get my hands on something, I want to know, I want to dissect it. I want to know
You're like
the
me.
best value I can get out of it. I'm that type of
Right.
person. That's how I worked it. And eventually I assembled my own team in the state of North Carolina. I had my own team, had my own contracts through the insurance company, through the bail bonding companies that were paying me to go nationwide and rounding up criminals all over the United States. And that's what I did. And that's what I wrote about in that book. And let me tell you, that's doing a 180 with your life, changing your life all the way around. And that's what I did. Now I pay it forward. I talk to kids. I go to churches. I talk to youths programs. I help out with any individual that I possibly can with what I'm educated on. I went back to school. I earned my GED. I went to college. I graduated college. I walked across the stage in a cap and gown, as a convicted felon. Bottom line to all of this, as long as you have life, you have a chance to make change.
Exactly.
That's the bottom line to that.
Exactly. That's what I admired about you. The first time when it was at the movie studio and you were on the red carpet and I heard your story. And the first thing I said to myself, oh my God, this is absolutely amazing. And I remember somebody saying to me, you like that story? I said, I love it. I said, because let me tell you, I said, there's a lot of people out there. We've all made mistakes,
Well, yeah.
some very small, some big. I said, but if a person realizes the mistakes they've made and they're able to redeem themselves and go on and change their life, I said, look, we're all human beings. I said, I said, I don't criticize anybody. And I remember reading something in the passage in the Bible that Jesus Christ said. He said, he who's without sin cast the first stone.
Absolutely.
Nobody's without sin. So nobody can cast stones. Okay.
No.
And when I read your book, I was just so very impressed because you turned your whole life around.
Yes,
And
I
it
did.
reminds me almost of Law and Order with Ice-T. He basically did the same thing. And all of a sudden you're playing a cop on Law and Order.
Yeah.
But nothing wrong with that. Okay.
Not at all.
When I grew up, and I grew up in Hackensack, New Jersey. I was born and raised there. And I went to Hackensack High School. And Right down the street from Hackensack High School was what they called it, the black neighborhood.
Hmm.
And I'll be honest with you, I used to walk through that neighborhood. No one bothered me. Okay. I used to go to Harlem. I used to go and see all the acts down there. First time I saw James Brown, people used to say to me, "Oh my God, you're going to Harlem, you're going to get killed." I said, "No, I'm not." I said, and the reason why I think that is because the way I approached things. I never looked at a person for the color of their skin, or I never looked at some of the things they did. I looked at them as a human being.
Right.
Okay. And I always tell people, "Oh, you want to talk about skeletons? I'll invite you to my house. I'll open up the door. You can see all the skeletons there." Okay. And my uncle was like that. My Uncle Eddie, that was one of the things he used to say. So we never criticized anybody.
No,
And everybody deserves a second chance in life, sometimes a second and a third. Okay.
absolutely.
But you're a role model, and it's unbelievable, that book and the things that you're doing now. You're still a role model. I think you said you wrote a children's book, if I
Oh,
remember that correctly.
I wrote four kids. I'm up to my fourth. I wrote four books,
Wow.
4 books. I have them they're on Amazon. 4 different books that I wrote, 4 children's books. So I'm just paying it forward. And I love writing children's books. It's kind of crazy when you think about it. I was involved in organized crime. Then I turned my life around, became a bounty hunter, wrote an
Yes.
autobiography. Then I just published my fourth children's book. Now,
Wow.
we did a film about me too. They did a documentary called Mob to Bounty Hunter. I don't know if I sent that to you yet because it's not out there yet.
Yeah, I think you did.
I
Yeah,
might
that
have
was
sent it
great,
to you.
Mom.
I might have sent, yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. And right now I'm just doing things in a positive way. So I could, I'm traveling here and there, doing motivational speaking.
Right.
I got to go Wednesday to the Presbyterian Church and speak to an audience of youths. Now, it's not just for the youths, okay? It's also for the parents. I'll talk to anybody. It's not just for the kids. It's for everyone,
Right.
to let everyone know that they are valued, that they have value. If you don't think that you have value, you'll never get it. You'll never bring it out. You'll always think your self-worth is worth nothing. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You have to know that listen, God is perfect. Okay? God is perfect. That's the only perfect thing that ever came off this planet. Nothing else. Nothing else but him. Okay?
Right.
But he's also given us the spirit inside of us that's something is, again, value. So I want everyone to understand that you are worth something. No matter what,
Yes.
don't listen. It's not about getting likes. It's not about getting shares. It's not about if you don't get enough likes, you're going to block this person, block that person. I'm not into none of that. That's unimportant and irrelevant. You can,
Right.
you can listen to me or you don't listen to me. That's up to you.
I love it. And exactly what you said. You have to make people understand that they have value. That reminds me of a story. Uh, when I first started doing pageantry in New Jersey, when I first became the director for the Mrs. Globe organization, I had a young girl that came to me by the name of Debbie Goldstein. And I'll never forget this. She wanted to compete in the pageant. She didn't think she could. And when I met her, she was very shy, beautiful girl, but very shy. In fact, she couldn't look anybody straight in the eye. She would look down. We gave her a chance. Okay. I put her in that pageant and she won the Miss Congeniality Award. And from that point on, okay, she started competing in other pageants. She won. She started a computer company. Unbelievable. Okay. And then, of course, when I moved to Florida, we kind of lost touch a little bit. And through social media, she just found me. She had gotten married. Her name is now Debbie Duran. And she hooked back up with me. And one of the things she said to me, through our conversation, she said, "Angela, if it wasn't for you, I would have never known that I had value to go out and do these things."
That's
So you're
awesome.
100% correct about it. And it doesn't matter who you speak to. It could be children. It could be their parents. Believe it or not, the other day, I mean, because it's so cold right now, I'm coming out of my development, all right? And I saw this woman on the corner coming out of my garage, and she was there with a shopping cart, an older woman, and you knew she was homeless and she was freezing. I froze. Okay. I stopped my car and I went in to where we have our conference room and everything. And I said, look, I said, we're going to have people here. I said, there's got to be something, I said, that we could do. So what was really great about that is our superintendent, he came out of the clubhouse. He brought a few of these people and he got them lunch. And we have a service called the 211 Crisis Center. We called them up and we were able to get these people some shelter for the evening. Because my heart just broke. I'm saying to myself, here is someone that you don't know if they fell on hard times, probably worked all their life. There's someone's daughter. And here they are out on the streets in this cold weather and begging for their last meal. And that, I think that hits me more than anything, because I say in the country that we live in, why do we even have this today? Okay.
Absolutely.
You know, I mean, and especially when it gets cold like this. But I was really very proud of our superintendent to come out, and there's always food in the clubhouse, and how he took care of them and how he gave them, you know, a nice hot meal and gave them coffee and tea. And we were able through the police department to get them to the crisis center where they could have shelter for a couple of evenings. So I really thought that was wonderful on my development to even take that initiative to do something like that.
That's incredible. That's an incredible story. If you can make an impact in somebody's life, go for it. Don't think about yourself. It's got to be a selfless act. You know, I don't walk around with a video camera, video my good things that I'm doing. I don't do that. Okay.
No,
I
me
do
either.
it. No, I just do it because I'm there and I care. I'm there and I care. That's it. I was given a speech. It was last year. This opened up my eyes to a lot of things. I was giving a speech to a crowd last year, and I noticed this one little girl kept looking at me. She had been no more than 14 years old. No more than 14 years old. She kept looking at me, and as I was talking, I kept panning over to her, and I was like, I hope she's okay. What's going on with this young girl? She's looking very sad. I was telling the crowd, the story, what happened to me when I was working as an enforcer for organized crime. I was ran over by a car. Yes, I was ran over by a car.
Oh,
Okay, because they tried to assassinate me on the street. And I was in a coma. I was in a coma for about, oh my gosh, I think about 6 weeks. And they took me to Park Slope Hospital. I was telling them that story. And then after that story was done, and I got some sort of applause from everybody thanking me, all that, I looked at that little girl again, and I called her over to me. And I said, come over here, honey. I introduced myself to her, and she goes, Mr. Tommy, can I ask you a question? And I was like, you can ask me anything, sweetheart, anything you want. And she remembered what I told her in the story about me being hit by the car. She goes, did it hurt you when you was hit by the car? And I wanted to be very careful with this question. I'm going to answer it. And I said to her, why are you asking me that? She goes, last year, my little brother was playing in the street and he got hit by a car and he died.
oh,
She said, I wanted to know if he felt any pain. I was like at awe when she said that, you know? So I said to myself, and I said to her, I said, I didn't feel anything when the car hit me. I didn't feel a thing. Your brother didn't feel anything when he went to see the Lord. She kind of put a little bit of a smile on her face, and she gave me a hug, and I embraced her, and I talked to her a little bit more. But little things like that's not a little thing. That's a big thing. Big things like that. Big things like that are worth the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing.
right.
Things like that, helping other people. That's what I'm about now, is helping other people in any way possibly that I can.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely fantastic. And it reminds me, I lost my mother May 24th of 2024. And you know, one thing I will never do again, and that's another story. Unfortunately, the hospital told me she had to go into a nursing home, and that's something I will never do that again. I don't care. I told my husband, I said, and he said vice versa. If I had to go out and scrub floors, never put anybody in a nursing home again. But she knew all the things that I did, and she knew how I would go out and inspire women and empower women. And her last words to me, she actually grabbed my hand, and her last words to me were, don't worry about me. I know I'm going to go to a better place. Do what you need to do. Don't stop doing what you're doing. She keeps
Right.
keep inspiring. And I remember that. I mean, this was a rough Christmas for me because this was the first year I didn't have my mom. I mean, God bless her. She lived to 94 years old.
God
Okay.
bless her.
God bless her.
God
I mean,
bless
and
her.
she had all her senses. Okay. It's not, I mean,
Amazing.
maybe she was a little hard of hearing, but you know, that goes with
Amazing.
age. But other than that, you could talk to her. She would carry on a conversation. She was driving a car at 93. Okay. And had a great
Unbelievable.
driving record, no accidents. That was the thing with her. Got her through COVID without even a sniffle. Okay. But you know, age, and like I said, it's another story about a nursing home. But she was very much into that. She always used to tell me,
That's
look,
awesome.
it
Incredible.
doesn't matter. She said, it doesn't matter. Let's just keep inspiring. And, you know, a few years ago, I'm going back about 3 years ago, when they told me I was getting the Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award, I was like, first I thought it was a joke. And then I said, I am? And they said, yes. They said, because you have inspired so many women around the world. Okay. And this show that I'm doing, there's now a book. I have a book coming out about me next month, but there's another book coming out called The Crown is the Key to the Success. And it's going to feature all the women that I've inspired, but it's going to now lead
Amazing.
to a web series. Okay. And
Incredible.
I love doing shows like this. Thank you. And someone like you that has a book, because I think this is very inspiring to a lot of people out there. And I always find that even if someone's done something wrong, they try to hide behind it. And I said, don't hide behind it. That's who you are. That makes you who you are. You know, I
Right.
remember something that William Shatner said in one of the Star Trek movies. Okay, when in the undiscovered, it wasn't the undiscovered country, but it was the one before that, and the Final Frontier. And when he said, "Now learn something about yourself," and I remember Bones saying, "This con man took away my pain." He says, "I don't want my pain. I need my pain." He says, "These are the things," he says, "who we are." He said, "Am I supposed to feel sorry?" He says, "When I turned right and I should have turned left, or when I turned left and I should have turned right." He says, "No, I don't need that." He says, "I know who I am." And I remembered that. Okay. And I said, you
Absolutely.
know, that's a great analogy.
It
Okay.
is. It
You
is.
do need your pain. You want your pain because that's who makes you who you are. And it makes you strong. And I watched my mother. My mother had a very tough a childhood life. Her father had passed away. My uncle was in service. She had two small sisters, and she pretty much with her mother raised them. But that made her tough. That made her go to 94 because she endured a lot of things. But on the other side of the coin, she was a great athlete. She was a professional bowler. She was on Wide World of Sports talking about her 600 series. So again, all the things that she suffered from, she progressed on the other side.
It's
And
amazing.
it is. And watching that woman, it's been absolutely amazing. And I think that's where I get it from. Okay. When times are tough, I'll just say, I'm going to pull up from my bootstraps and keep going.
Absolutely. That's what I did. And I want to thank you. I want to share one more thing before I go. Um,
Sure.
listen, when I was incarcerated for those 4 years and staring at the cell walls and bars and dealing with inmates, it was a horrible, horrible, horrible place. And I thought
Right.
that I would never, ever achieve anything. But I was wrong. I was wrong. And I did achieve something. This is what I got from when I got into bounty hunting. I did bounty hunting for 16 years. And when
Right.
I retired, I got this right here.
Wow.
That's my ID when I worked as a bounty hunter, and my badge and those handcuffs that you see this was given to me by the company. The handcuffs that you see, those were the same handcuffs that I used for 16 years. I never lost them.
Wow.
Those handcuffs were on over 2,700 different individuals through
Wow.
my life working for 16 years. And when I look at that, I can say, you know what? I hope that some of those people that I had in those handcuffs changed their life like I did.
Yes. And I think, you know what? If they know you're still around and they've read your book, they're absolutely going to be inspired about you. But you definitely got to get to Florida so we can get you here in the studio.
We're gonna do that. I'll be coming down there in a couple of months. I will be there. And I want to thank you and thank everyone out there for listening to my story. Look me up, Tommy Hardening on Instagram, Hardening X. Look at Tommy Hardening on Instagram. Look at me on Facebook, TikTok. My name's all over the internet. Can't miss me. Love to.
Absolutely. Well, I
Love
want to
have
thank you for
guys.
taking
Thank
time
you.
out of your busy schedule to be on the show.
Thank
And
you.
as always, you got an open invitation. And when you're here, we will have you in the studio. In fact, the whole gang is waiting for you. Joe Rubo, Kenny, Christopher Lopez, they're all waiting for you to come here.
I will be coming.
All right. So anyway, my dear, keep doing what you're doing. Have a great weekend, and we'll definitely see you again.
Bye, Angela.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye now. Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, a very, very inspiring story by Mr. Tommy Hardening. I am telling you, this is one of the best individuals that I have met in a long time, and how he went from one thing and be a bounty hunter to turning his entire life around. And I think this is going to be a great inspiration to everyone that's going to listen to this. And of course, if you have an opportunity to get that book, definitely read it, called Hardening. And once again, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for tuning in to Make Our World Your Runway. And as always, you know that every week, make sure you tune in, because we always have a fabulous guest that is on our show. And next week, we're going to be bringing you some live images from a show that we are going to be doing with the Global Trade Chamber and 100 Successful Women in Business. So once again, thank you so much. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week with another fabulous show and guest.